Hello, I'm Desmond Butts, and we're going to talk a little bit about 3D printing again. One of the things that you'll notice when you do anything that's computer aided, whether it be machining or 3D printing, rigidity in what you're using makes a huge difference on the quality of the output of the product. Right now I'm going to show you a couple of springs right here. This spring is the factory spring for the Ender3 Pro, and you can squeeze that with your fingers like that. This is the bed leveling spring that's on the bed. This is a heavy duty spring. You hardly can get compression in it compared. So I changed out these springs for these much stiffer red springs. And what this does is it keeps the bed, once you level it, much more consistent printing surface. It doesn't give it as much variance, doesn't give opportunity to tilt or anything like that. Helps the print stay more uniform so you get more consistency like some of these on a print like this. It also helps you go between like one of these, you can maybe see a little better there, not a very good print, to a much higher quality print like this one. Some other factors that are involved obviously have to do with slicer settings and the way that you have your setup in your config file. I'm going to show you a couple of other things. These are the extruder nozzles. This is the original one that came with the Ender3 Pro. Now, I had a huge learning curve trying to figure out how to make this work. So this one got used a lot, and as it did, I didn't notice really that the tip hole started to get a little bigger and a little bigger. This is a stainless steel one, and that tip is very fine. This is, hopefully you can see the difference between the tips and how they change. This is the original one right here, the stainless one. Because of that, when you try to switch the tips out, if you've used one, you want to change it. Usually your settings all of a sudden change along with the tip because it takes a different heat setting for the different diameter of the hole in the nozzle. Also, a brass tip is going to heat up a lot quicker and differently than a stainless steel tip. Because of this, I tried the stainless steel tip. My temperature went from about 185 for the extrusion to 250, and I still couldn't get it to go through very well, the stainless steel tip, even though they were considered factory default sizes of 0.4 millimeter. So what I ended up doing is I have a lathe, and I trimmed one of these down. The original brass tip had a shorter section of threads by comparison, and if you can see this like this, you'll see the stainless steel one is quite a bit taller. So I trimmed it down closer to match the original one, and that made it about like that, so those threads match. I cut it down, and that helped dramatically, but I still wasn't getting what the results I needed from the stainless steel, so I bought some brand new brass ones, and in order to get it to print nicely, you can see that there, the tip's a little longer, but the thread's the same size, and the length of the tip being longer is probably because the old one had been worn down from use. But my temperature went from 185 to 210, and now I'm getting decent prints like this. This is a part of a watermelon project for my granddaughter. Here's the watermelon piece. This is the rind. I didn't have any green, so I did it in blue, but they fit together like that. Having these settings and changing the springs and some of the other modifications help you be able to do things like, you know, make gears and other projects that are a little bit more complex. So when it comes down to a baseline for, say, Cura or slicer settings or the config file, really what is mostly important is making sure you get the directions of your drives, the right speeds and things like that. Then when it comes down to fine-tuning it, it's going to depend a little bit on what you're using, what extruder you're using, if the diameter of the hole is the right size, if it's a different material, if it's stainless steel versus brass. So there's no perfect setting that's going to be a one-all-fits-all type thing. It's going to take a little bit of playing around. It takes a lot of playing around, a lot of work in order to get from this to the complexity of this. There is no perfect one-size-fits-all type of slicer settings in Cura or in your config file. So just realize that it takes a little bit of playing around, and every 3D printer has its own idiosyncrasies to work through. I can give a baseline, but then you have to play around from there to get the type of results that you're looking for. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe. This is Desmond Butts. Happy 3D printing.